Ever wonder why accuracy can feel so elusive in pool? This setup from our video, Perfecting the Fundamentals Part 1, illustrates the challenge many players face. In the image, a laser line runs perfectly straight through the three balls and down the shaft. However, since the viewer is right-eye dominant, the shot perspective shifts slightly left, showing how dominance affects visual alignment. What's happening here is due to binocular vision and eye dominance, it's impossible to align exactly on the shot's center and still see it as perfectly straight. Your brain merges both eyes' perspectives into a single balanced image, but dominant eye positioning can shift that image, leading to a misaligned perception of the shot. When viewing this setup, notice how the laser line that is straight down the shot line leans closer to the right eye in the mirror. This small offset is what a right-eye dominant player should see. For left-eye dominant players, this would be mirrored. In the rest of our video, we'll explore how eye dominance influences your shot perception and how understanding it can help improve your accuracy on the table. Please click the link button and subscribe. It helps our channel grow. For the best accuracy, this is the ideal alignment you want to see. A straight line down the shot where the shaft, the center of the cue ball, and the two object balls are all perfectly aligned. This would be possible if you're fully dominant in one eye and that eye is positioned directly over the center line of the shot. Alternatively, if you don't have a dominant eye, this alignment would also happen if the center of your nose is directly over the shot line, allowing both eyes to contribute equally to the view. A straight center alignment is the ideal alignment for consistency and precision in every shot. Here we have a center line view representing ideal vision alignment. All instructional lines have been drawn straight down the center of the shot. The red line represents the top center of the shaft. Using our 3D drawing software, we've created a diagram that shows this alignment from a side angle. You can see now how we've structured the drawing. The shaft is positioned at its typical downward angle with an aiming line running straight through all three balls on this angle. Additionally, we've included a line parallel to the table surface, running straight down the shot as well. A small gap separates the cue tip from the cue ball, with two vertical lines drawn directly down the center of the shot, one at the cue tip and another at the closest point of the cue ball. With everything in perfect alignment, this setup gives us a clear perspective on how we can perceive a straight shot. If your nose is on the shot line and your two eyes are equal in dominance, then this is what you would see when viewing down the shot. If you have a dominant eye, then there are two problems that now occur. The first one is due to downward angle of the cue, and the second is a parallax vision created by the gap between the tip and the cue ball. Because of the downward angle of the cue, when you follow the shaft line, you will find that the aim line you perceive is more to the left than the true shot line. As you raise your backhand and increase this downward angle of the shaft, you've amplified the difference in the perceived angle and the true angle. This occurs when shooting over a ball or shooting off the rail, and is further amplified during jump shots. This is why, if you are right-eye dominant and you are increasing the angle of your cue by picking up your backhand, you often miss the shot to the right. Also, the gap between the cue tip and the cue ball creates a parallax vision issue when viewing the center of the tip to the center of the cue ball, as represented by these two lines: center of cue ball, center of cue tip. In order to maintain the cue tip on the center of the cue ball, you will need to aim to a point slightly left of center on the cue tip to the center of the cue ball. If this 12 o'clock position on the cue tip was sitting over the center of the cue ball at present with right eye dominant view, you are moving the tip of the cue to the left, adding a left-hand spin. If you are left eye dominant, the reverse is true. The second factor to consider is parallax vision. When you shift your head to the left to adjust for right eye dominance, you'll notice that the cue tip appears to shift to the right of center on the cue ball. This parallax effect becomes more pronounced as the gap between the cue tip and the cue ball increases. So if you increase this gap between the cue tip and the cue ball, the effect of parallax vision will grow, and the centers will be further apart. Additionally, the center line on the shaft seems to shift toward the right side of the shaft. For a right eye dominant player, the cue tip should appear slightly to the right of center on the cue ball, just as in the picture. Players with right eye dominance who aren't aware of this may find themselves unintentionally applying left spin to the cue ball by aiming at the perceived center of the cue ball. Players with right eye dominance who aren't aware of this may find themselves unintentionally applying left spin to the cue ball by aiming at what they perceive as its center. If you put this 12 on that center of the cue ball, you will actually be to the left of center applying a left-hand spin. In our graphic, the yellow line represents the center of the cue tip, and the pink line marks the center of the cue ball. With the right eye dominance adjustment, these lines no longer align perfectly. To compensate, a right eye dominant player would aim at around 11:30 position on the cue tip to hit the perceived center on the cue ball. Depending on the degree of eye dominance adjustment or the gap between the cue tip and cue ball, this alignment could shift to roughly 11:15 or 11:45. Very little eye dominance requirement, 11:15. A lot of eye dominance requirement, 11:45. Each player will need to fine-tune this for themselves with some practice. Here is a visual representation of what you might perceive on the pool table if you are right eye dominant. With right eye dominance, you'll see the three balls in a straight line as your brain combines the images from both eyes. However, due to parallax vision, the effect caused by the gap between the cue tip and the cue ball, the tip will appear slightly to the right of center. Because of the downward angle of the cue shaft, the shaft itself will seem angled slightly to the left. Some may claim they can move their head from side to side and still see the shaft pointing directly at the object ball. But if there's a downward angle on the shaft, and if the shot line isn't directly centered on the bridge of your nose, there will be a slight angle on the shaft. While it may feel like the shaft is aligned straight, the reality is that, due to the downward angle, it appears slightly angled to the left. So, as shown here, a right eye dominant player will need to aim approximately through the 11:30 position on the shaft's center line toward the center of the cue ball to truly align down the shot line. This visual is what a straight shot looks like. It's the mental picture you should apply to every shot on the pool table. As you can see, the cue tip is slightly to the right of center, and the shaft is subtly angled to the left. In our next video, we will show you how to find your vision center. Perfecting your fundamentals, finding your vision center. As shown in the 3D diagram, you can see how your vision works if you're right eye dominant. Each eye views the shot from a slightly different angle, combining these perspectives into a single image. To strike the cue ball at its center, you will appear to be putting a slight right-hand spin on the shot due to parallax vision. To achieve a true center hit on the cue ball, you'll want to aim through the 11:30-ish position of the cue tip to the center of the cue ball. The second visual effect here is due to the downward angle of the cue shaft, making it appear as though the shaft points slightly left of the intended shot line. This corrected diagram reflects what your brain perceives. You'll see the balls in alignment, but the shaft, being closer to your eyes, will appear angled to the left. The takeaway here is, while the shot may look like a straight line to the object ball, the shaft's downward angle makes it appear angled to the left. Also, because of parallax vision, you'll need to adjust your tip slightly right.